Welcome back to another episode of the Utopian Society, the channel and podcast where you can hear stories about people that have something to share to society. And in this time, I have a very special friend of mine that he wants to join and wants to share his story with us. So please welcome at this time to my really good friend Adi. Adi, welcome to the Utopian Society.
Carlos, thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. It's a really pleasure for me having you here because it's any story that people can share to anybody else is something special. So I really appreciate your time here. Thank you. So I wanna introduce you to our audience here and viewers, and I want you to tell me a little bit about you. And I understand you are originally from Israel, right?
So I'm from a very small town in Israel. It's called Ben Ami.
Mm-hmm.
It's located somewhere in the north and it's like 2.5 hours from Tel Aviv.
Okay.
I moved to America like 5 years ago. I went
5 years ago.
Yeah.
What made you move here? What was your idea when you were thinking about moving to America?
So something that happened to me like really frequently. Sometimes I just get this like moment and I just feel like a calling. Like I feel like I need to do something. It happened in America. It also happened when I got called for reserve. It also happened when I moved a country. There's some times where I just have this moment and I just like book a ticket and go.
That's interesting.
And I feel like it's usually coming from dissatisfaction in the current place that I'm in. And I feel like it's some kind of a shake-off that helped me go through hard stuff.
Okay. I think we all experience sometimes a call, like you mentioned, a call to action, a call to do something right now. Maybe we are just too comfortable in our lives, and our own nature. I believe that our own nature is to keep moving, in life.
Yeah.
So that's very impressive, and I guess many of our viewers will feel the same. Tell me something about it. Why in Austin? What was the trajectory you follow from Israel to Austin?
So it wasn't actually originally Austin. I actually didn't know Austin when I first moved in. And over time, as like I grew on my journey, I realized that I'm very connected with everything that's entrepreneurship. And I always knew Austin is a place that's promote that.
Yeah.
And I really want to be around people that inspire me. And I feel like Austin is a great place for that.
What have been the most challenging thing about moving from country to country?
So every time you move to a new place, it always feels like you're starting from zero, which in some way it's very exciting, and in the other way it's very challenging. Like no one knows you, you are like nobody again, and I would say that's the biggest challenge. But I do also see that as a positive. Especially for me, because like for me, when you ask me also the reason I moved in the first place, there was actually something also deeper than that like I felt like I have a bias on me that I have created, right? And I wanted to escape that. Like I wanted to see new people that never saw me in my life and have the chance to get out of that box that I was put in.
That's interesting.
And like I was trying to get out of it over there, and like I felt like I keep getting back into this box of like how other people see me. So for me, was part of the move, it was like an opportunity for me
Mm-hmm.
to show
yourself to others, and I guess to also show yourself who you are. Really, sometimes we tend not to know ourselves, right?
That's true.
Would you say you have known yourself better now in this trip? Like, have you found things about yourself you didn't know and you experienced here?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah, and I also understand that we are all humans. What may have been my passion last year
Mm-hmm.
may not be my passion this year.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's more about like realizing that like life is a journey, and I just need to be adapt to it.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of getting into the mind of like trying to pick up the perfect place, perfect business, perfect spots. So for me, that's part of my growth.
Yeah. What is something in Austin or in America, that you still have, some cultural barriers or differences that you find here that you still like, you wonder yourself, what is this, or how can I handle this, manage this? What is something that you can mention about?
I have to say first, like I feel like Austin is a very accepting place. I did feel like I had some networking events and there's some places that were more like bougie, more fancy, that I really felt like out of place. It's like I'm more of a casual person, as you can tell, and I don't know what about it, but like just being around people that are like everyone dressed nice, and like have this certain persona, and like speak like their chest up, like made me feel like, oh, that's not like
it's not my environment. Yeah. Interesting. Every time I guess, and I experience this too. When we travel, we see different cultures, talk to locals.
Yeah.
We actually tend to compare our own culture, right, and where we come from, and say, oh, I like this, I don't like this, I feel in place or not. But overall, as you mentioned, we tend to learn and grow. Even if it is something that we don't feel too comfortable with, we learn about it, right? And I guess we always gonna have this experience on knowing ourselves better. And something really good I like about that is that we reassure our own values and what we like. We grasp it. Let's say in this case, you're a very casual person, right? And you say, oh, I don't like this kind of bushy thing, but sometimes I do. But this is who I am, and you embrace it. And you feel comfortable in your own skin. And that's something that I learned through time too. And I don't know. I shared a similar experience with you.
You feel like when you go to places like that as well, you feel.
Yeah, I mean there are some places I don't feel like I belong, or maybe I feel out of place. And I stay because maybe there's an event or something, but it's not something I choose. So I know myself a little bit better, and not trying to please people just because I want to belong there. On the other hand, like on the contrary, I want to be in my own skin, and I want to feel that I belong to myself.
Yeah, be yourself.
People. Yes. How this experience living here has changed you as a person? Is there something that you change in your perspective about life, about being a human being, or just a person in general?
Specifically in Austin, it was more in the business aspect of it, where I saw people about my age doing crazy things And like when I get to talk to them, they are very like normal people. And it's like something about it give me like a mindset shift that like maybe I don't have to be this incredibly smart person in order to create
something. To create something.
Yes. And like just being around people that's like doing those stuff, this is by itself is a big motivator for me at least. And in my perspective about creating stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I believe that when you have the chance to compare, in this case, or see other realities on people, right, and see how do they conduct themselves, how do they do business in this case, right?
Yeah.
And you actually confirm they are also people with flaws or people with mistakes. They make mistakes in life. And I believe that we tend to compare ourselves because we want to be better, right? We want to be the best, our best version. At least that's what we are here for, right? Trying to be better in this society. And sometimes we tend to compare to those people and say, oh, those are maybe too on the top, and it's too hard for me to go up there. But when we see regular people walking around and making mistakes, we say, hey, I'm a human being too. I make mistakes. So why would I punish myself too hard if I don't make it this time or next time? But I'm just gonna keep trying, right? So I guess in business, like you've learned something about business here in Austin, in America specifically. What is something you can share about that to people that is trying to build a business here?
Of course. And for me, the lessons that I had in my business, I'm not sure how many other people would have them, but for me, it's about like most of the problems that I have is the problems that I created in my head. So it goes back to the original thing that I said, that I'm working myself about letting go from this perfect thing.
Yes.
And especially in business when there's nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
And there's so much more value into making action as opposed to trying to configure the perfect thing to do and then end up doing nothing.
Does that make you feel free?
Once the action is happening?
Like free from yourself. Sometimes we tend to be trapped in our minds too much. But when you mention that, you feel free, like you can let things go.
It is, and it's also like the idea of like knowing it's not going to be perfect and be okay with it. And
that's great.
Yeah, and especially like what we're doing right now. I never told you, but like in the past, I've tried also to make this type of podcast. Just with myself, actually, just like teach about stuff. And if you're gonna open up my folder, my computer, you will see hours of videos and footage that never been released. And there's cuts on cuts on cuts on cuts. Only because I wasn't forgiving myself enough. And I didn't like how I sound, I didn't like a lot of stuff that prevent me from actually releasing the first clip. Ironically, the improvement should come from the action itself. Because like, if I would release one of them, it will be sloppy, and then I improve it, and then I do the next one less sloppy.
Yeah, exactly. The repetition and just the constant action. Constant action. Well, we're almost done here. I want to ask you the last question. This is more for our viewers here and audience. I want to leave us everybody with the last question here, Adi, and I appreciate really much your time here. Is there something that you learned that you wouldn't repeat? If it is something, if in that same line, what is an advice you can give someone that is moving country to country to maybe to fulfill that call that you mentioned in the beginning, like that call? What is a good advice, and what would you do different?
It's a good question. So I feel like every time there's a call, and I feel like everyone feels that in certain part of their life in one way or another. And I feel like there's the steps. First, there's the call itself, and then there's like immediate need for action. And after a few days, it just like died down. And then doubt starting to come in the pictures, and the what ifs, and all of the things in your head that will prevent you from doing it now. But if I have to like reflect back on my histories of like the best decisions that I made in my life, and in my country, they understand that like ההחלטות הכי טובות בחיים שלי התחילו ביאללה קוסומו, and it's basically saying that like my best decisions have always started with like so
With a call.
with a call, yeah, and it's also the call and taking action on that call before the doubts go in, right? And it should be justified with logic, right? It's not only an emotional thing, but it should be justified with logic. But you will never be able to connect all of the dots ahead of time. You just have to like lean the fact back and like enjoy the ride, you know?
Love it, love that. I wish I could learn that in your language, but I understand. I understand about a call that is we always have. If you quiet down that voice, you can quiet down and do nothing, and you can keep going on with the life, but you will never know what would happen, right?
Of course. Yeah.
So, would you invite our viewers to take action to that call?
Like, what else would you do? You know, like think about what happened if you wouldn't take this like drive you have in you. Like, how would you feel then?
I love it. Well, thank you, Adi. I'm speechless because I do feel this is the heart of our mission here. You know, to encourage people to follow that call. All right. So I don't know what else to say because Adi had said it better than me. Just follow your passion, man. Just do it. Don't be afraid, right? So, Adi, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I know you have stuff to do. And I hope I can see you in the future and we can speak again.
Course, you know. Thank you so much.
Yes.
That's been my honor.
Yeah.
And it's amazing setup you over here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Adi.
Yeah.
Okay.